Welcome to Horizons of Thought, Conversations on the Edge. My name is Donald Derrick. I'm a researcher, and I'm creating this video blog in order to introduce you to the most valuable aspect of an old-fashioned classical education. That's the ability to hear a lot of different points of view about any particular topic and learn how to decide which one you think is best. We're going to be talking about this because I've noticed a change that's taken place in our society over the last 15 years. When I was a young man, one of the things we used to do for fun is we'd sit around at small gatherings of a bunch of friends and we'd have discussions and arguments about nearly anything you can imagine. Politics, religion, everything you can picture. And we wouldn't agree with each other on very much. The arguments would be really interesting and intense. Sometimes we'd come to some sort of coalesced view. Sometimes we'd sit there and shout at each other and wonder why in the world anybody ever believes anything as silly as what it is the person we're talking to believes. Sometimes we'd be childish and frustrated and stomp away. But we'd come back in a few days because we were friends and we cared about each other, and this is the way we interacted for fun. But what I've noticed lately is more and more people, when they face hearing different opinions, think of that as a very hostile experience. Think of that as something that they don't want to experience, to the point where even in the academic settings where I work, I've run into many situations where I can still mostly agree with a person, but if I try to even bring in nuance into the conversation, they can quickly become very upset and agitated. I've even seen people cry in the face of this. But what happens in those situations is that neither of us get an opportunity to actually examine what it is that we think or believe, so we end up just not knowing, not having a good idea of what's going on. And I'll explain what I mean by that. The world, whatever it is you want to study or look at, is full of people who have a huge diversity of views on nearly any topic. So you've got to think to yourself on nearly anything you believe. Am I right or am I wrong? Most of the time, we just think we're right. But given how complicated pretty much any topic you look at is, odds are you're wrong, or at least partially wrong, in nearly anything you think. And the problem is even worse than that, because you've only got two choices in the face of this reality. You can either look at a bunch of different points of view on a particular topic, and then look at the world and what's going on in the reality that you see in front of you and try to assess what you're seeing in the face of all the different opinions to see which opinion is more likely to be right or which is wrong, whether it's a fusion or whether you've actually got to come up with a whole new theory about what's going on. This is a path towards improving your view of the world, having a better chance of being right about anything that you think or believe. The other opportunity that a lot of people have is just to decide, I'm going to believe that one key thing is what's shaping whatever experience I'm looking at, whether I'm going to be from the Chicago School of Economics, which is an extremely conservative economic school, or whether I'm going to be a modern third wave feminist, or whether I'm going to believe in a reptilian conspiracy that's taking over the world. Whatever theory I have, if I only have that theory of the world, and all I do is look at things in the lens of that theory, I will always see evidence for what I believe and not see evidence that counters what I believe. So what we're going to do in this series is we're going to look at the diversity of opinions and views in the world based on beginning simple, broad topics like the history of the world, the diversity of views of people in the world as it exists today, and the diversity of views that we have ourselves as we age and changes in our lives happen and we learn more. And then from that, I'm going to pick particular topics to discuss. And this series will be based on that. So with that, I have to say, this whole series is going to be very difficult for many people. So what I recommend to you when you hear a lot of different views, especially views you disagree with, is to be gentle and kind to yourself. To sit there and realize what you're feeling if you think this is crazy or stupid, and just acknowledge that that's what you're feeling. And then pause and think about what you're hearing carefully, to consider the possibility that this thing that you think is crazy or stupid that you're hearing, it could become your actual view of the world in a year or two or three. So the second thing I would say with these videos and with any conversation you have with anybody about topics where you're having differences of views is to be generous with the other person, to listen to them first, no matter how crazy or silly they sound, to actually pay attention because they may not be as crazy or as silly as you think. So with that, thank you for joining me at Horizons of Thought Conversations on the Edge. If you're interested in this particular video log channel, please look below at the link to my website where you can subscribe using DonorBox. You can give a one-off contribution or you can do a monthly contribution. One-off contributions will be used towards buying better equipment and setups, and monthly contributions will have certain benefits associated with the level of giving each month. Thank you very much for your time, and see you next week.